When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
Breaking now. Mel Gibson just dropped a bombshell that's sending shockwaves through Hollywood, and the fallout is hitting one of the most recognizable names in pop culture, Paris Hilton. We've learned that Gibson, in a series of explosive statements, has named high-profile figures allegedly tied to Jeffrey Epstein's infamous private gatherings, rituals shrouded in secrecy, power, and whispers of the unthinkable. And now, sources say the FBI is listening closer than ever. But here's the twist. Hilton, who spent years crafting an image of glamour and reinvention, is suddenly scrambling to distance herself from the scandal. The question isn't just about what Gibson knows, it's about why his words have the FBI taking her seriously. We can't ignore the timing. Gibson's revelations didn't emerge in a vacuum. They surfaced as his long-standing warnings about Hollywood's dark underbelly resurfaced alongside the controversial film Sound of Freedom, a project he publicly championed, which delves into the shadowy world of elite exploitation. Insiders claim Gibson's been sounding the alarm for decades, even joking in a 1998 interview that his weird, paranoid suspicions about the industry turned out to be horrifyingly accurate. Now, with his credibility as a Hollywood insider lending weight to these claims, the stakes have never been higher. And Hilton? She's right in the crosshairs.
Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
Here's what we know. Gibson didn't just hint at Epstein's network. He allegedly named names, pointing to a web of connections that included A-listers, power brokers, and, yes, Paris Hilton. The heiress, who's built a brand on being untouchable, now finds herself answering for a past she claims to barely remember. In a recent interview with The Times, Hilton dismissed reports that Ghislaine Maxwell once eyed her as a potential recruit for Epstein, calling it clickbait. But the problem? The FBI isn't treating it like gossip. Sources familiar with the investigation say Gibson's statements have reignited interest in Hilton's past associations, including that 2000 photo of her with Maxwell and Donald Trump at a New York fashion show. Coincidence? Or a piece of a much darker puzzle? The contradictions are piling up. Hilton insists she doesn't recall ever meeting Maxwell, yet the composer Christopher Mason testified in the 2020 docuseries Surviving Jeffrey Epstein that Maxwell was scouring for young women to introduce to Epstein, and Hilton's name came up. God, she'd be perfect for Jeffrey, Maxwell allegedly said. Now, with Gibson's claims adding fuel to the fire, the FBI's reported interest suggests they're digging deeper than Hilton's public relations team might hope. And let's not forget, Epstein's 2019 arrest for trafficking minors came just years after that photo was taken. The timeline doesn't just raise eyebrows, it demands answers. But Gibson's revelations don't stop at Hilton. They're part of a broader pattern, one that ties back to his own history of warning about Hollywood's elite. In that resurfaced 1998 interview, he described arriving in the industry with suspicions that later proved true, even joking that actor Chris Walken gave him an Antichrist vibe.
You could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, Now this is what I mean by actually starting to swim up or downstream with the rest of the salmon, you know, eventually, if you stay here long enough.
Yeah.
You'll find yourself doing that. And you have to, there's a way of doing it without doing it.
Fast forward to 2025, and Gibson's not laughing anymore. His support for Sound of Freedom, a film that's become a lightning rod for conspiracy theories about elite exploitation, suggests he's doubling down on exposing what he sees as a systemic rot. And if the FBI is now treating his claims as credible leads, we have to ask, what else does he know?
Again, there was new names in some of the emails that I think investigators need to look at. In particular, I jumped on the name of a modeling agent who, in a similar fashion to Jean-Luc Brunel, who brought underage girls from overseas to Jeffrey Epstein for abuse. There was another man. What was interesting about this other individual is that he also apparently provided young models for Donald Trump's modeling agency.
The dominoes are already falling. Just this week, over 20,000 pages of Epstein's emails were released by Congress, revealing a sprawling network of connections that included politicians, billionaires, and celebrities, many of whom continued associating with him long after his 2008 conviction. Among the names, Woody Allen, who allegedly met with Epstein nearly 100 times between 2014 and 2019, always with his wife Soon-Yi Previn present. Allen's team insists he never knew about Epstein's crimes, but the frequency of their interactions raises uncomfortable questions. Then there's Deepak Chopra, who admitted to teaching Epstein meditation and even visiting his properties, all while Epstein was a registered offender. The pattern is clear. Epstein didn't just operate in the shadows. He thrived in plain sight, surrounded by those who either looked the other way or claimed ignorance. And now, with Gibson's claims putting Hilton under the microscope, the FBI's reported interest suggests they're connecting dots that others have missed or ignored. Remember, this isn't just about one photo or one alleged recruitment attempt. It's about a culture where power protected predators and where names like Hilton's could be leveraged for access. The fact that Gibson's words have reportedly caught the FBI's attention implies there's more to this than tabloid fodder. It implies that Hilton's denials might not be enough. But here's where things get even more unsettling. The newly released emails show Epstein boasting about his influence over figures like Donald Trump, writing in 2011 that Trump was that dog that hasn't barked, a cryptic phrase that sent conspiracy theorists into overdrive.
No, but we have a congressional act now to requiring the release, but they're going to say, you know
Subject
what?
to
Tom
redaction.
Hanks, it's unfair that he was mentioned
And the
because he
law
was eating
says
Skittles.
subject to redaction. Subject to redaction.
And we all know what that means. That's to protect.
That's why I'm saying you will never be satisfied with what's released.
Trump's team has dismissed the emails as a hoax, but the FBI's silence speaks volumes. Meanwhile, Epstein's calendar reveals meetings with everyone from Steve Bannon to Bill Gates, all while he was under federal scrutiny. The question isn't just who knew what, it's who's still protecting whom. And then there's the matter of the missing footage. The DOJ's recent memo declaring that Epstein's infamous client list doesn't exist has only fueled skepticism, especially after Attorney General Pam Bondi's baffling explanation for a mysterious 1-minute gap in Epstein's jail cell video, the night he passed. Bondi claimed it was a routine glitch, but the timing is too convenient. Too many coincidences, too many unanswered questions. If Gibson's revelations are forcing the FBI to take a second look at Hilton, what other names are about to surface? What other secrets are buried in those 20,000 pages?
Clear in her testimony that there is an effort to clear Trump specifically. A lot of the questions are specifically about Trump. A lot of the answers very complimentary, even in particular sections to him. But you just made the point to me that she's actually doing even more.
The pieces are moving fast. Gibson's credibility as a whistleblower is growing, even as his past controversies make him a polarizing figure. Hilton's team is in damage control, but the FBI's reported interest suggests this isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's a potential legal minefield. And with Congress poised to vote on releasing even more Epstein files, the clock is ticking. The names we've heard so far, Trump, Allen, Chopra, Hilton, might only be the beginning. Because if Gibson's right, and Hollywood's elite are more entangled in Epstein's world than we ever imagined, then the real question isn't who's guilty, it's who's next. The deeper we dig, the more Hilton's denials start to unravel, and the pattern is impossible to ignore. We've seen this playbook before. When Ghislaine Maxwell's name first surfaced in connection with Epstein's crimes, a chorus of elite figures rushed to distance themselves, only for damning photos, flight logs, and witness testimonies to emerge later. Hilton's claim that she doesn't even remember meeting Maxwell rings hollow when you consider the 2000 fashion show snapshot, where she's standing beside both Maxwell and Trump, all smiles, just years before Epstein's first arrest. And let's not forget, Maxwell wasn't just a socialite. She was Epstein's alleged recruiter, his gatekeeper, the woman who, according to multiple accusers, scouted for young women to introduce to his circle. If Hilton truly has no memory of her, why does Maxwell's name keep surfacing in the same breath as Epstein's most infamous parties? Then there's the matter of Gibson's timing. Why now? After decades of Hollywood whispers, why are his warnings suddenly carrying weight with federal investigators?
In the emails, it is quite clear that Jeffrey Epstein had a wide, almost incalculably wide circle of associates. People who were celebrities, people who were either in foreign governments or leaders of foreign governments, business tycoons, and the like.
Sources close to the FBI suggest it's not just Gibson's credibility as a longtime insider, it's the way his claims align with a growing paper trail. Remember, Gibson didn't just drop hints in a vacuum. He's been vocal for years, even filming promotional pushes for Sound of Freedom, a film that's become a rallying cry for those convinced that elite exploitation runs deeper than anyone admits. The connections don't stop there. Gibson's past interviews paint a picture of a man who seemed too much to stay silent. In that now viral 1998 conversation, he described Hollywood as a place where your worst nightmares turn out to be real, a chilling premonition given what we now know about Epstein's operations. Gibson even joked about Chris Walken giving him an Antichrist vibe, a darkly humorous remark that takes on new meaning when you consider the kinds of figures Epstein allegedly surrounded himself with. If Gibson's warnings were once dismissed as paranoia, today they read like a roadmap. And with Hilton's name now tangled in that same web, Her team's insistence that this is all clickbait starts to look like a PR strategy, not a defense. But here's where things get even more disturbing. The newly released Epstein emails don't just implicate the usual suspects. They reveal a culture of complicity that extended far beyond his inner circle. Woody Allen's name appears nearly 100 times in Epstein's calendars, always alongside his wife, Suni Previn.
Some breaking news right now. Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City. Epstein was facing trafficking charges.
Allen's team insists he had no idea about Epstein's crimes. Yet the frequency of their meetings, dinners, film screenings, even a Valentine's Day trip to Paris, paints a different picture. Then there's Deepak Chopra, who admitted to visiting Epstein's properties for meditation sessions, even as Epstein was a registered offender. Chopra claims he was there to help with insomnia, but the optics are damning. And let's talk about the money. Epstein's financial records, partially uncovered in the latest document dump, show a man who didn't just throw lavish parties. He strategically cultivated relationships with the rich and powerful. Billionaires, politicians, even royalty appeared in his ledgers, often under the guise of philanthropy or business discussions. But we know better. Epstein's real currency wasn't dollars, it was leverage. The kind of leverage that keeps mouths shut and reputations intact. Hilton's family wealth and social standing would have made her a prime target for that kind of network. Not as a victim necessarily, but as a potential asset, a name that could open doors, a face that could lend credibility. Then there's the Trump factor. The former president has long insisted he had nothing to do with Epstein's darker activities, yet the emails tell a different story. Epstein himself wrote that Trump knew about the girls, a phrase so cryptic it sent investigators scrambling.
And I've often felt it. I've sat there, and I have felt the knife slipped firmly in between my shoulder blades and tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart.
Trump's team calls it a hoax, but the FBI's silence speaks volumes. And let's not forget, Trump and Epstein were once close enough that Epstein was a fixture at Mar-a-Lago. If Hilton was indeed on Maxwell's radar, as Mason claimed, then her presence in that 2000 photo alongside Trump and Maxwell isn't just a coincidence. It's a piece of a puzzle that's starting to take shape. But let's step back and ask the question no one seems willing to voice. What was the real draw for someone like Hilton, or any young, ambitious celebrity, to orbit a figure like Epstein? Critics speculate it wasn't just about parties or networking, but about the intoxicating illusion of belonging to an inner circle where the rules didn't apply. Epstein didn't just offer connections. He offered a kind of alchemy, turning fame into power and power into invincibility. For someone like Hilton, whose entire brand was built on being the ultimate insider, the allure of that world wouldn't have been about money or even influence. It would have been about control. What makes this even more unsettling is how seamlessly Epstein's operations mirrored the mechanics of Hollywood itself. The industry has always run on a currency of access and secrecy, where the right introduction can erase a scandal, and the wrong rumor can end a career.
Movies like this, documentaries like this, shows like this, there's a lot of people that don't want to do it because where are you going to platform it? Where are you going to put it up? But if there's a guy that could do it and pull it off, it's definitely Mel Gibson.
Insiders claim Epstein weaponized that dynamic, offering a parallel universe where the elite could indulge in their darkest whims under the guise of exclusivity. For celebrities like Hilton, who spent years fighting to be taken seriously beyond her party girl persona, the promise of being seen as more than just a socialite, of being trusted with the kind of secrets that bind the powerful, might have been irresistible. Yet Gibson's crusade suggests that myth is crumbling. His decision to align himself with Sound of Freedom, a film that frames elite exploitation as a systemic horror, isn't just a career move. It's a direct challenge to the culture that allowed Epstein to operate for decades. Sources familiar with Gibson's thinking say he's convinced that Hollywood's ritualistic underbelly isn't just about individual predators, but about a network of complicity, where everyone from studio heads to A-listers played a role in keeping the secrets buried. If that's the case, then Hilton's name surfacing now isn't an accident, it's a test. And that's what makes this moment so volatile. Because if Gibson is right, and if the FBI's reported interest in Hilton's connections is any indication, then we're not just talking about one heiress's questionable associations. We're talking about a domino effect.
I want to know how Epstein made the money that he did. I want to know what the transactions are he was involved in. And that should all be something that the Treasury Department, the FBI can get access to, because in the meantime, what we're left with is Ghislaine Maxwell effectively downplaying this whole thing. Yeah, he was a he hid it from everybody. Nobody else was involved. There's no proof of anything else. There's no blackmail. There's no foreign intelligence.
The same psychological forces that might have drawn Hilton into Epstein's orbit would have applied to dozens of others. the need to belong, the thrill of transgression, the intoxicating belief that the rules don't apply to you. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of all this is the way Gibson's crusade mirrors the broader public frustration with how Epstein's case was handled, or rather, mishandled. The financier's 2019 arrest came over a decade after his first conviction, a sweetheart deal that allowed him to keep operating in plain sight. The names in his black book were never fully exposed. The videos from his properties vanished. And now, with Gibson's claims forcing a reevaluation of who might have been involved, the public's patience is wearing thin. We can't ignore the timing of the Epstein files release either. Congress is poised to vote on uncovering even more documents, a move that sparked bipartisan fury and fear. The White House has already dismissed the latest emails as a distraction, but the damage is done.
I think it reinforced the research that I did on my book that Jeffrey Epstein has always viewed himself as smarter than everybody else, and he also has collected people all along the way, particularly over the 2 decades through his trafficking. And that was always to get secrets and bits of information about individuals that he could pass to other people. He trafficked in.
The names in those files, Clinton, Allen, Chopra, even Prince Andrew, aren't just footnotes. They're proof that Epstein's reach extended into every corner of power. And if Gibson's revelations are forcing the FBI to take a second look at Hilton, it's because she's not just another celebrity caught in the crossfire. She's a symbol of how deeply this scandal cuts. So where does this leave us? With Gibson's credibility on the rise, Hilton's denials under scrutiny, and the FBI reportedly digging deeper, one thing is clear. This isn't just about one heiress or one actor's bombshell claims. It's about a system that protected predators and a culture that looked the other way. The question isn't just whether Hilton knew more than she's letting on. It's about who else is sweating right now, waiting for the next name to drop. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Paris Hilton's connections to Epstein's circle run deeper than she's admitting? Or is this just another case of guilt by association in Hollywood's never-ending scandal machine? Drop your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next bombshell. Because in a town built on secrets, the truth is always the most explosive story of all. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and we'll see you in the next one.